Jane Foster is becoming the goddess of thunder. Natalie Portman is joining the Avengers. The next Thor movie, Thor Love and Thunder, will bring us a major story arc from the comic books to the big screen from one of the best Thor writers, in my opinion, of course. Jason Aaron's work on the Mighty Thor gets adapted to the big screen, and director Taika Waititi saves the Thor franchise, and do people still say nerdgasm? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Comic Island. My name is Joey, and we are finally getting Jane Foster as the next Thor, Goddess of Thunder. Now, if you want to check out how this all plays out in the comics, check out our epic narration on how this all transpired. San Diego Comic-Con 2019, Marvel Hall H just dropped huge bombshells, and I'm still rocked. So it's easy to see that Jane Foster Thor is probably the biggest jaw dropper for me, but let's catch you up to speed on the big news in Hall H. Disney head honcho Kevin Feige is the Santa Claus that just keeps on giving. I had a coworker ask me about comic books, and he told me he heard it from a guy named Kevin Feige. I think I slapped him. Now, Kevin Feige came with announcements. The Eternals movie is no longer a rumor, and Angelina Laura Croft Jolie joins the cast with fellow badass Selma Hayek. Disney Plus streaming service will shed light on what happens to Winter Soldier and Falcon, both whom have been a Captain America respectively in the comics. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Marvel's first Asian film, is announced with my friend Simu Liu as the martial artist himself. No, that's a lie. I don't know him, but he is Canadian, so yay, the North! Now back to Disney Plus. We follow the adventures of Scarlet Witch and Vision, but what's most exciting is that we finally find out where Loki went after he seemingly died at the end of Avengers Endgame. Doctor Strange is returning, and Jeremy Renner got the best entrance ever with the epic Avengers theme song playing. The Black Widow movie is announced finally, and the second biggest jaw-dropping news is that Blade is getting rebooted with Cottonmouth himself, Mahershala Ali, as the Vampire Slayer. I hope I got his name right. And it's finally announced that female Thor will take center stage, and there is only one person that can become the Goddess of Thunder, and that is Jane Foster, Natalie Portman herself. Wait, didn't Natalie Portman want nothing to do with Marvel after Thor the Dark World? Due to scheduling constraints, Natalie Portman couldn't finish her final kissing scene, so the director employed Chris's wife Elsa to fill that role. But Princess Amidala is back to reprise her role as Jane Foster, the new female Thor, along with Thor Odinson himself, Valkyrie, the new King of New Asgard, and the best director the Thor franchise has ever seen, Taika Waititi. Now, I gotta take a second to give praise to where it's deserved. According to Forbes.com, for the first week of a Marvel movie's release, Thor 1 was the second weakest performing Marvel movie, ahead of Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk. The first Thor movie scored 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not too bad in my opinion. In Phase 2, Thor The Dark World, again is the second weakest performing movie, and it wasn't well received by critics, scoring 66 on Rotten Tomatoes. But in Phase 3, Santa Claus himself, Kevin Feige, brings in Taika Waititi as director for the Thor Ragnarok, which scored 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it jumped to the third worst performing movie in the first week. Now, on the surface, it doesn't seem like that big of an improvement, but Taika's Marvel debut brought an amazing fresh sense of humor and unique style that is fundamental to Disney's foundation. Rumor on the set of Thor Ragnarok was that Taika was an amazing director, and he even voiced fan favorite Korg. That guy just stole the show for me. So good. So with all of Marvel's announcements, Chris Hemsworth will reprise his role as Thor, Tessa Thompson as the new King of Asgard, and finally we see the return of Dr. Jane Foster. Natalie Portman becomes Thor and maybe even joins the Avengers. No plot details have been revealed yet, only Taika has read the script, and he is a fellow comic book fan that read through Jason Aaron's run on the Mighty Thor, where we see Jane Foster become Thor, the Goddess of Thunder. Now, there are reports saying that Jane Foster Thor will be referred to as the Mighty Thor, but a comic book story and the MCU are totally different, so we are left with tons of juicy questions, so let's go through them. Whosoever holds his hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. In the comics, Thor Odinson, after a whisper, felt that he was truly unworthy, so the hammer rejects him and sat on the moon. Jane Foster comes around, and the inscription changes to, if she be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Jane grabs the hammer and gains godly powers and the ability to wield Mjolnir with all of his thunder and lightning abilities. In the movies, Hela destroyed the hammer, and how is Jane Foster gonna become Thor? Will the hammer get reassembled? In the comics, it was Odin himself who created the hammer as a prison for a sentient cosmic storm that threatens to destroy all life in the galaxy. So will we see a nod to this cosmic storm that would have been unleashed when Hela destroys the hammer in Thor Ragnarok? In the MCU, Thor is still worthy, but with a new hammer, Stormbreaker. He is believed to have joined the Guardians and leaves kingship to Valkyrie. Now, speaking about Stormbreaker, will we finally see fan favorite Beta Ray Bill? We know he exists in the MCU as a previous champion on Sakaar, and his weapon, the Stormbreaker, has finally been forged. So will everything go full circle and Beta Ray Bill finally gets his hammer? That would mean Thor will need a new hammer, or they somehow recreate Mjolnir. Now, with regards to the name, the thing here is that Thor is still Thor. That's his first name, so even if Jane Foster becomes the goddess of thunder, why would she be called Thor? The name Mighty Thor has been circulating the interwebs, so that might be her new mantra and Thor can keep his name. But if female Thor takes the name like how it plays out in the comics, Chris Hemsworth's character will henceforth be called the Odinson. Female Thor and then the Odinson. It's just so weird, but it's also kind of like Bucky Barnes and Sam Wilson on becoming Captain America. We know that Falcon was offered the shield with Winter Soldier's blessing, but that could easily change hands. And again, speaking of Falcon, Jane Foster, Thor, and Falcon America did share a brief romance. In both comics and movies, Thor and Jane are broken up, so could we see this romance one day? And finally, who will be the main villain? We explored Thor's battle against Loki, the Destroyer, then Thor fought Malekith, the Dark Elf, and in Thor Ragnarok, he fought the Queen of Hell, his sister Hela. All powerful godly opponents. But as for Thor Love and Thunder, the title doesn't say much except that it's a nod to Jane Foster becoming female Thor. This is just me speculating, but I believe and hope that Lady Thor will battle a somewhat normal corrupted conglomerate company called Roxxon. But anyway, what's the most exciting news from Marvel's San Diego Comic-Con 2019 for you? The Eternals or the Disney Plus content coming this December? What about the reboot of Blade? Whatever it is, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support us, check out our Patreon page. The link will be in the description below. Thanks again, and please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time in another Comic Island video.